like a constant battle on our campus as far as space. But anyway, so welcome to 5th grade. This is what the rooms look like on any given day. Itinerary. Okay. Can we still have an itinerary, Mr. Sadler? And then we're also doing an iPad update, which is why all their iPads are out. So anyway, just, always fun, always fun. All right, so you have a copy of the itinerary. I just received this like 10 minutes ago. So anyway, so you'll notice that some of the things don't have times next to them. So if you see itineraries coming home between now and the trip, it's probably because times have been inserted in there. As things get confirmed with the tour company, they'll go through and modify this repeatedly. So it'll probably change, I don't know, multiple times before we actually travel. And then before we travel, you will get a most recent itinerary, as will the kids. The kids will have an itinerary for the trip, so they know at any given time. We have some kids that like to know what we're doing next and what time we're doing this and that, so they will have a copy of the itinerary before we leave as well. Okay, so today the objective is just kind of go over the logistics of the trip, give you an overview, give you the opportunity to ask questions. There will be a letter in the Wednesday folder today, which is kind of like our final confirmation letter for you to read over and to sign, saying that yes, my child is going, or no, my child is not going. And then if we don't hear from you by October 26th, I think is the deadline, we're just going to automatically assume your child's going, because they have to get names to the business department so that they can go ahead and get it to fax to hit your account. How you decide to pay it is up to you. It's just due by early January, because we have to start sending checks out to the tour company, to the bus company, and what have you. So anyway, so any questions about that? So in November, on your fax invoice, you will notice there will be a charge for the DC trip, which right now we're figuring at $1,100. Still, the unknown is whether or not we'll need 1 or 2 buses. Last year we thought we needed 2 buses until like, I don't know, a month before the trip, and then inevitably people start backing out, and then we can go down to 1 bus. So that's kind of our unknown at this point. With 51 kids in the 5th grade, along with 6 chaperones, that's at 57. Plus we pick up a tour guide when we get up there, that puts us at 58. And the bus only holds, I think, 56. So, do the math. I'm like, well, can't we just get a chase car? And some people can ride around in the chase car because it's a whole lot cheaper than a second bus. But no, tour company doesn't allow us to do that. So anyway, so whether or not we need 1 or 2 buses remains to be seen. That's always kind of like the unknown that we're not sure about. Ideally, we like 1, but if we need 2, we'll do 2. 2 would be nice because the kids can spread out more. So, yes, we take the bus. For some of you who have had kids that traveled before, in the past we've taken the train, but I think this is our 4th year now taking the bus. There's a whole lot of reasons why we do the bus now instead of the train. I was talking to Ms. Hudson's class at math when they found out we were doing the meeting today. They start asking questions. But the main reason is security, because that's always our #1 concern on this trip is security. And the last couple times we traveled on the train, part of it is I buy an entire car, because if I don't, they'll randomly put people on our car at all hours of the night when we stop at, Brunswick, Georgia, or wherever we're stopping. They'll just start loading people on our car if there's seats. So I didn't like that. And then, should we buy the entire car? Well, that gets expensive. And then if we have kids backing out at the last minute, well, we're locked in for that amount irregardless. And so it just became cost prohibitive. I've also had kids go, well, Miss Curtis, why don't we fly? Yeah. Okay, so let's just run through this scenario. Just imagine just taking your family through airport security. Just think of all the fun that you have with that. Okay, now flash to, you're taking 51 5th graders through security. Okay, are you with me? I'm like getting goosebumps thinking about this. Anyway, so one, I don't know that amongst the 6 of us we have enough patience to deal with that, but just the logistics of it, because also we don't start and stop our trip in the same location. We start in DC, we end in Williamsburg, which means we're doing 2 different tickets. We're not doing a round trip. We'd be doing a ticket to DC, and then I think when we researched it a couple years ago, we'd have to fly out of like Virginia Beach or something like that. And so anyway, it just got crazy. Then the other thing with airline tickets is if somebody backs out, Well, then you have this ticket that you can't use, and now we're $350 dollars in the hole. And anyway, so just logistically, flying, just, yeah, no. So anyway, so we take the bus. And the nice thing about the bus is when we leave on Sunday morning, we will step onto a Candy's motor coach, and that will be our only means of transportation the entire time we are on the trip until we get back to school Friday morning, when they will step off that same Candy's motor coach. Drivers, no, we don't have the same driver. So the driver that will pick us up Sunday morning and bring us back Friday morning will not be our driver in DC. They switch in Virginia, switch drivers, and then we pick up a new driver who is much more familiar with the DC area. And that driver takes us around DC and Williamsburg and Jamestown and all that, drives us back down to Virginia Thursday evening, where they then switch, and it's generally the same driver that took us out that brings us back. So, because I know a lot of people have questions about that.
Is it just one driver from like Florida to Virginia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's, because they have hours that they can be on the road, so they figure out what that magic equation is as far as time, and that's where we stop and they switch. It's somewhere maybe it's northern North Carolina, I can't remember, but somewhere within that 8-hour window, we switch drivers. We will stop a couple times along the way up at rest areas. The kids are like, I get so stir crazy sitting on the bus. Well, so do we. So we stop about every 3 or 4 hours at rest areas. Mr. Rogers is going to be one of our chaperones. This will be his 3rd year going with us. Mr. Sadler is going. We play games at the rest areas. We bring balls. They run around. They get rid of some energy. So they have a chance to, kind of run around. And we have like strategic rest areas that we stop at. It's just not just like, any random ones. They're ones that have nice big grassy fields that we feel comfortable letting them get out and play at. Okay, so big thing, while we're touring, our biggest thing, again, like I said earlier, is security. Security, security, security. So, and the kids are probably already picking up on us doing this during the regular school day, but we tell them that no time when we're touring is anybody in front of the first chaperone or behind the last chaperone. So there's always a chaperone at the beginning of the line, at the back of the line, and then chaperones are staggered throughout our line so that we can always keep eyes on the kids. The kids will always, when we're touring, have their beautiful yellow hats on. And so yeah, they're a different color this year, but whatever, they're bright, and it allows us to keep eyes on them. So if at any time we see a bright yellow hat wandering away from us, we know to go gather them and bring them back. So they keep their yellow hats on. The kids have also, you may have noticed on their papers, put a number. That is their number for the year. And we use that number to count off repeatedly when we've broken up and then we come back together to make sure that we have everybody. And the thing about that is it allows us within 51 seconds, if they're doing it efficiently, to know if everybody's there or not, as opposed to going through roll call and going, Sally Smith and John Doe and da-da-da-da, which takes significantly longer. If they're counting off, we can figure out if we're missing somebody. So that's their number. So we do that quite often. We're most often in a big group. There's a few times, like when we go to museums, when we go to the Smithsonian's, we'll break into smaller chaperone groups. And then we go to Williamsburg and Yorktown, we'll break into class groups just so that we can do the different activities. But for the most part, we will be as one large group traveling around. And then in the hotels. So, and this is always the fun, that was what most of the questions today were about. So the hotels, our rooms are all in one block. No, we don't get the whole floor to ourselves. You can see on the itinerary, we stay at the DoubleTree outside of DC, and then we stay at Embassy Suites in Williamsburg. So the DoubleTree is a fairly large hotel. I mean, the floor is huge. So there will be other people on the floor with us, but we are in a block of rooms. At the end of our block of rooms are chaperone rooms, and within the block of rooms are chaperone rooms. So they won't put other people within our block. So they're secure within our block. The chaperones are up throughout the evening until we've determined that all the rooms have gone off to sleep. So each of the chaperones will have rooms that they're responsible for. So we'll be, like room moms. And so during the evening when we get back to the hotel, the kids have a list of things they're supposed to do. Call home, take a shower, they have homework to do, and then they have to get their stuff out for the next day. And so that time that they have to do that, we're expecting them to do all that stuff, and once that's done, they are to get in bed. And more often than not, I can tell you they are exhausted. So they are more than happy to get into bed and go off to sleep. So once we know, as each room chaperone goes in and checks the room and determines that all 4 people are asleep in the room, then we will pull their doors shut. When they are awake, either that little flappy thing or the bolt will be thrown on their doors so it doesn't close all the way, so that the chaperone can come in and out and check on them at any given time. So they're not just left unsupervised in the room to do whatever they want. They're not having pillow fights, they're not turning on the TV, they're not doing all that kind of stuff, because we are constantly in and out of the rooms checking on them, making sure they're doing what they need to do. At the time that everybody we know is asleep and the doors are closed, then the chaperones will go off to sleep. There will be a security guard on the floor. The kids are instructed, as well as the security guard, that if there is a problem during the night, the kids are told, just crack your door, get the attention of the security guard, who will then get a chaperone to come address your problem. They are not to just go wandering out in the hall trying to find somebody. And then the security guard will have the rooms that the chaperones are in, and they'll come get us if there's a problem. Okay? So they won't have much interaction at all with the security guard. Any questions on that? There's generally 3 to 4 kids in a room. So yes, they have to share a bed. That was a question I got today. So yes, they do have to share a bed. But there's plenty of room, and there's not a problem with that. The chaperones will also have their room keys. So each chaperone who has assigned rooms will have the room keys for those rooms. And so we go in the morning and in our fun way wake them up. And so the only other person that will have a key will be one student in the room who we call the key keeper, and they're in charge of the room key for the day. And that's like a huge privilege. All right, packing. So we kind of lightened it up some, since some of your kids have probably traveled in the past. But now they only need 2 bags. They will need a suitcase, but not a ginormous suitcase, because they're going to be responsible for getting their suitcase up to their hotel room and back down to the bus and all that good stuff. They will need a suitcase, and then they'll need a duffel bag, like a travel bag that they'll take on the bus with them, to put their blanket and their pillow and their entertainment stuff and whatever else they're bringing on the bus with them. The only other thing that they will get to transport stuff with will be a lanyard from us, which is like a little pouch, and in the pouch is where they can keep their money, and they can keep tissue and chapstick and things like that. So what we've found in the past, before we would let them bring what we call the touring bag. So for the girls, that might be a little Vera Bradley backpack, or for the guys, it was a drawstring bag. But security has ramped up in the DC area. So every time we were going into a museum or into the Capitol or anywhere else, there was, screeners that we'd have to go through. So with those kids with those big bags, it was seriously slowing down the process of getting in and out of these facilities. So when we take those little lanyards, we can go through much quicker. I think a lot of them will just let us leave them on their neck and let them walk through. So it's definitely quick, picks up the process. So they will get that. It'll be on their desk the Sunday morning that we leave. Okay? It's big enough. It's got a little zipper section so they can put their souvenir money in there and everything like that. And there's also going to be a little card in there that has emergency contacts. So if for some reason, God forbid, somebody were to get separated from the group, there would be phone numbers in there that somebody could call. It's never happened. Nothing on wood. But we always want to take every precaution possible. All right, so they'll have their suitcase and they'll have their travel bag for the bus. They will only need 4 changes of clothes. So that'll be their clothes for Monday, their clothes for Tuesday, their clothes for Wednesday, and their clothes for Thursday. What they put on Thursday morning is what they will have on up until the time we deliver them back to you early Friday morning. Okay, so 4 changes of clothes. Weather, we'll just have to keep an eye on that between now and then. We never have any inkling as to what it's going to be. Last year we thought we were going to have beautiful weather, and then we were heading to Williamsburg and it started snowing. So anyway, so saying that, we're going late March, which can still be quite chilly up in that area, especially in the evening, and we do tour in the evening pretty much every night. So you'll want to have a jacket that's appropriate for whatever the weather is showing for, for up in that area. Depending on how tolerant your child is of the cold, you may want to pack gloves and a hat and a scarf. I don't know. We'll just have to play it by ear as to what the weather is looking like. 2 pairs of comfortable shoes, 2 pairs of walking shoes, like tennis shoes. So I tell the kids, we're not going up there to put on a fashion show. We are going up there to tour and to be comfortable. So 2 pairs of shoes, because a lot of times, you know, like I said, it could snow or it could rain. And so if their shoes should get wet one day, a lot of times they won't have enough time to dry before the next day. So we want them to have another pair of dry shoes to wear for the next day. Also pack extra socks. And you're gonna get like a list of all this stuff as the trip gets closer. But you're gonna wanna have extra socks as well, just in case their feet do get wet and stuff like that. Medications. So we do travel with medication. If your child has a medication that they must take on a regular basis, we will get you information in the future about how to get that to us so that we can make sure we disseminate that to them appropriately. But what we don't want you sending in are vitamins and things that they can live without for 5 days, just because our medicine bag is no longer a bag, it's like a trunk. And it's not easy to travel with. So, you know, to lighten the load, only the bare essentials. We will travel with Benadryl and ibuprofen and Tylenol and Pepto and cough syrup and cough drops. All those kinds of things that they might need, we'll have that so you don't have to send that stuff in. And again, we'll send you information about that in the future as to what we travel with, so you know what you do and don't have to send. So anyway, so that's never an issue as far as having everything we need to treat them for whatever symptoms they may have. But so we're asking only essential medications get sent in. Okay.
Does someone carry like carry the EpiPen?
Well, the EpiPen she'll have on her at all times.
She will personally.
Yes, or or probably her chaperone. It just depends on the day, like depending on where we are and what we're doing. If we're going in somewhere with security, I'll probably, whoever her chaperone is would probably have it on them just so we can say, this is, and they understand that. They totally get that. They never give us a problem with that kind of stuff. So yeah, she'll definitely have it at all times. Okay, cameras and cell phones. So if your child wants to take pictures, which we understand because it's a lot of fun, we highly recommend using disposable cameras, just because if something happens, if it drops or gets lost, it's not devastating that it's a $200 or whatever camera for the family relies on. So a disposable camera a day is a good idea. But if they don't want to take pictures, or you don't want them to take pictures, there will be somebody taking pictures throughout the trip. In the past we have Mr. Lee who unfortunately is no longer with us. So we will have somebody else who will be taking pictures throughout the day, and we'll be posting those, and you will have access to them. So, so your child doesn't necessarily have to take pictures, because sometimes while they're fun, they're also super distracting. And while, a tour guide's presenting information about this cool exhibit over here, but somebody's over there looking the other direction, taking a picture of what we just left, tends to defeat the purpose of why we're on the trip. So, so anyway, but if you do want to send a camera, whatever, you're not going to be devastated about sending if it gets broken or lost. And then, but I highly recommend a disposable camera. Okay.
But you just hold that because
a lot of the disposable cameras will fit in those pouches. Yeah. Yesterday or last year, the kids were just sticking them in there. Or those small digital cameras, those were fitting in there. Yeah. Or they can put them in their pocket. So yeah, so that's not a problem. Okay, phones. So they are not required to have a phone. As much as they may try and convince you of that, it is not a requirement of the trip, I promise. If your child does not have a phone, they will be able to use their chaperone's phones. A lot of times other kids in the room who have a phone let their friends in the room use a phone. So there's more, they're able to make a call. Promise, promise, promise. You will have, on the Sunday we leave, on the desk, your child's desk, you will get a card that has all the phone numbers for the chaperones on the trip. So that if for some reason you need to get in touch with us at any given time, you can do that. The only thing is, at times we have to turn our phones off if we're in different buildings, just because they require cell phones to be turned off. But if there's an emergency and you need to get word to us or to your child, contact us. They will not have their phones during the day. They will have their phones in the evening when it's time to call home. So they'll call home in the evening, and after they're done calling home, their room chaperone will be collecting their phone and keeping it until the next evening. We'll charge it for them. We'll do whatever we need to do for them. But we don't let them keep their phones because, again, it's a huge distraction. They're not paying attention to what they need to be paying attention to and all that good stuff. So, and so, again, they don't have to have one. They don't have to have one. as far as technology that can go on the trip, we do not take iPads or tablets of any kind. Again, size, value, and just transporting them is like a nightmare. So they can bring like a Nintendo DS. I think last year we had somebody bring a Switch, which is something new to me, I don't understand that. But anyway, so they can bring a small gaming device like that, but we're not doing iPads or anything like that because it's, you know, they're too big, too heavy, too bulky. And then especially the school iPads, those belong to the school. And we've traveled without them for years and years and years, and they survive. They really do. So there's this novel thing. It's called a book. Like, they can bring a book, and they can bring cards, and they can bring paper and colored pencils and all these fun things that they probably don't do much. Bring that kind of stuff, and that can entertain them. Yeah.
Will they be allowed to have their phones on the bus, like when they're
So on the trip up, they will get their phones for, you know, not the entire trip, but part of the trip. We do show a couple movies on the bus on the way up, and we show a couple, well, not as many on the way back because we're driving through the night. But anyway, so we'll show a couple movies on the way up. We show like Night at the Museum because that kind of goes along with Smithsonian since we visit that. But they will have opportunities to have their phones on the bus. There will be a time on the bus where we'll say, okay, everybody, now it's time to call home and check in with mom and dad and let them know that, you know, everything's great and here's where we're at and blah, 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 blah. So they will have an opportunity to check in with you on the way up when we're on the bus. And then on the way back, we leave from Williamsburg after dinner, which is about, 6:30, 7 o'clock-ish. So they don't have as much awake time on the bus on the way back. So they may have their technology for a couple hours, but then we'll collect it and in hopes that they'll go off to sleep. Yes, for the ride home. So, because we arrive back at school on that Friday, generally around 6:30, and then you pick them up and take them home. We don't have school that day, and that's right before spring break. So they have a week to recover, as do we. All right. So hotel, I already talked about 3 to 4 kids per room. The students about 6 to 8 weeks before the trip will be asked to fill out a form. On the form will be, give me 5 names of people you want to be on the bus with. Give me 5 names of people you want to be in a hotel room with. And we will generally try, we'll match them up with somebody on their list as much as possible. Like, you would think it'd be super easy, but oh my gosh, like we get it to the point where we're like, oh my gosh, we're almost done. And there's 4 more names and nobody matches up. And then we have to start all over. It's like, oh my gosh, it takes forever. Because the kids are like, do our hotel room partners change every night? And I'm just like, if you only knew what it took to do it for one night. No. Anyway, so they will have an opportunity to give us names of people they would like to be with. If you have any inkling as to somebody who you may think your child's going to put down, but is not a good idea, let us know. Okay? Let us know. We so appreciate that. Because here's the thing, like I have parents that come to me, they're like, oh, I'm so worried about so-and-so, if so-and-so's going to be happy. Okay? Here's the thing you need to remember. We, as chaperones, want your kids to be happy. Because if your kids aren't happy, they won't go to sleep. And if they don't go to sleep, we can't go to sleep. So, all that to say, we do everything in our power to make sure they are with people that they will be happy with. Because again, we want them to sleep so that we can sleep. Okay? But again, if like maybe there has been a sleepover with somebody and it didn't work out well, and we wouldn't know about that just from our interactions with them at school, let us know. So speaking of that, sleepovers. If you have a child who is reluctant to sleep over, please, between now and the trip, do it as much as possible with people you know. I mean, maybe start with family members, then graduate on to friends or something, but there's nothing worse than having a child travel with us and it's their first time being away from home, and we're not in a position where we can call and go, hey, Johnny can't go to sleep. Can you come get him? Yeah, we're too far away for that. So we really need them to be comfortable being away from home. Like I said, I can say that they are exhausted And while sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Because some kids, when they're exhausted, they just cannot, get it together to get themselves to calm down and go off to sleep. So yeah, so if you could do that, that would be fabulous. So there is, like I said, no TV is to be turned on in the room. Like, there's no time for that. And they are up early. So kids are like, what time do we go to bed? Well, it depends on what time we get back to the hotel, and by the time everything's done. Generally, they're in bed 10-ish, if we're lucky. Because some nights we may not get back to the hotel until 9. The hotel we're staying at in DC is about 45 minutes outside of the city. So, just depending on how late our last events are in the evening, we'll then kind of determine what time we get back to the hotel with that 45-minute commute back to the hotel. So, so don't be alarmed if, because the other option is you can call the hotel directly to talk to your child. They will have all the room numbers for the kids, and they can connect you to the room. So if you call the hotel and they're, the room phone rings and rings and rings and rings, it could be because we're still out, and in which case you can text us or call us and just, find out what our status is. But then they are up early. Most mornings when we're in DC, I think we have to leave the hotel about 7:30. Again, because that 45-minute commute in, which is, an hour and a half in the morning because of traffic. So, so they're up early. Breakfast is generally, in the hotel is buffet style. So there's never a child that can't find something to eat. There's cereal, there's bagels, there's eggs, there's bacon, there's sausage, there's waffles, there's pancakes, there's fruit, there's, all kinds of stuff. So you never have to worry about your child going hungry. I promise they will find something to eat. All right, so miscellaneous stuff that you're gonna see coming home between now and the trip. At some point, you will get a medical insurance form that will come home. That is an overnight travel form. It has information you have to fill out, as well as we're gonna need a copy of the front and the back of your medical insurance card. That way, if for some reason you had to get medical treatment for your child, we could do that without any problems. And we've never had to do that. But just in case, I just feel the need to do that. Okay, the other thing that will come home is a dog tag order form. So the kids will get a set of dog tags that they like from the Air and Space Museum. So they will get, the form will come home and is built into the cost of the trip. In the past you had to pay for it, but now we built into the cost of the trip. They will fill it out for what they wanted to say. It doesn't have to be like military dog tags. We put, your blood, Social Security, all that. They put like 5th grade, 2019, Washington DC rocks or whatever. As long as it fits in the number of characters on the form, that's fine. They also will get silencers for their dog tags. Yay, because Paul came in with his without silencers. I was like, Paul, take them off. Yeah, we require them to have silencers on their dog tags, because if not, 51 kids with things around their neck clanking is a bit much. So anyway, so that will be something that will come home as well. And so, like I said, the cost of the trip we're looking at being about $1,100 is what it's looking like right now. The only other money that will be involved in the trip is souvenir money that you choose to send with your child. And here's how we like to allocate that. No more than $25 a day. Please send cash, do not send the Visa gift cards. Because in a lot of the stores we visit, if your child does not know the balance on their card, they can't use it. Because some places they require you to punch that into the machine, yes. So if you get, so the $25 a day in cash works best. Any money they have left from a previous day, they can roll over to the next day. And by golly, Thursday is the best day to go souvenir shopping, because whatever money they haven't spent, they go hog wild into Jamestown, I think it is, gift shop, which is a cool gift shop. But anyway, as much as we tell them, you don't have to spend all your money. Like, I think mom and dad would be much more pleased if you came home with $25 than 25 pencils from Mount Vernon. But anyway, so and a good way to do it is to take 4 envelopes and to put the money for each day in an envelope and label it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then that way they can manage their money. The other thing is, and I'll get more into this when we do our packing trip, is to do that with their clothes. Get big Ziplocs, put their stuff for each day in the Ziploc, zip it, put the day on it. That way your kids that are just like, that's her. You can just go, oh, Monday, here's my Monday. And so when we're getting ready for bed at night, you know, they can just take that bag out for the next day. And then they have that bag to put their dirty clothes in, you know, the one they took their clean stuff out of, they can put their dirty clothes in that. Just keeps everything better. And when it comes back, it's not as frightening. The other thing we tell them about souvenir shopping is, you know, you don't have to buy something for everybody in the family, you know, just a little memento of what you saw and why it's so special. And not to buy big stuff, because that's been an issue in the past too. They're not allowed to buy weapons or anything like that. So anyway, so that's what I have to share with you. If you have questions, holler at me. And if at any point you have questions or your kids have questions that you can't answer, have them come to us. So just so you know, chaperones, myself, Miss Hudson, Miss Kelly, Mr. Sadler, Mr. Rogers, and I'm working on my 6th person. So it could be Miss Hendricks, or it could be Miss Klettner, who's gone with us in the past as well. So I try and take people that know the kids, because in order for them to be an effective chaperone, they have to have a rapport with them. So anyway, that's
I
where
have
we're
a
at.
question about the Pinstripes. Are they playing games there?
Say that again.
The Pinstripes, the restaurant, it's a bowling alley too.
Oh yeah, probably not.
No.
Yeah.
Just they're eating.
Yep. We have a really, I think they have a pizza buffet there.
Yeah.
We had the hardest time like finding pizza places that are A, good, to B, not like scary environment for us to go into. I don't know, it's just weird. So that one will be a new one for us. But no, we won't be playing games. Yeah.
Have you used Mary Beth as a
Yes,
guide
Mary
before?
Beth Oaks was our tour guide last year, and she was fabulous. Fabulous. We really liked her. She's very easygoing. You know, last year we had the snow incident, so like we went to bed, I think it was Tuesday night, and we're like, don't know what the weather is, but she's constantly on the phone. All these tour guides are they are members of multiple organizations and all these things that are related to tour guides in the DC area. So we got up early Wednesday morning and touched base with her, and she'd already been on the phone we already knew that Mount Vernon was closed. So, and she was already working on our plan B, C, D, E, and F. So yeah, they're used to navigating all the weather kind of stuff. But yeah, she was fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. We really liked her. Yes?
For learning's sake, some of the worst practices in the past, things that happened that shouldn't have.
I mean, I would say probably our biggest thing is just technology usage on the bus. We constantly have to be surveilling them while they're on their iPads, or not their iPads, but their devices or their phones. We tell the kids, and they will have to sign a contract before we go, of behavioral expectations. Part of that is technology. So if we catch them, like we tell them, you're not supposed to be on Wi-Fi, because you're not supposed to be on the internet. So if we catch them on YouTube, or somewhere they're not supposed to be, we will take their device for the day, possibly the rest of the trip, depending on what it is. And if need be, they can call you from our phone.
So what are they using the phone for? If they're not on Wi-Fi and they're not on the internet?
I mean, they have.
If they have a downloaded movie or
Yes. We have kids that do that.
That's it, basically.
I mean, they have.
Games.
Okay, well, so there's some games that last year we let them play. We don't want them playing Fortnite and stuff like that. If it's something educational, that's great. But that's why I'm saying, like, we really stress, take a book, take a deck of cards, take a magnetic board game kind of thing. Again, and we show probably 3 movies on the trip up. So between that and our stops and things like that, they're not going to have tons of time on their device. A lot of times kids will fall asleep. We're leaving super early Sunday morning. It's not posted on there because I didn't want to shock you too bad. Yeah. So there's chances that we're going to be asking you to be here at 5:30 so we can roll by 6 on Sunday morning. That's just because we want to have plenty of time to get up there so we're not rolling into the hotel Sunday night at like 11 p.m. like happened last year, but that's because our bus driver on the way up stopped 10 times, I think. But anyway, so they will probably sleep on the way up some too, and we highly encourage that. And then, like I said, on the way back, they maybe have 2 hours. And last year we showed a movie when we got back on the bus in Williamsburg after dinner. We showed a movie, and then once the movie was over, we turned the lights off. We stopped at a rest area, they used the bathroom, and that was it for the night. They were going to sleep.
So what kind of food you serving on the bus? Will you be packing food?
So on the way up, and I'll get into all that on the packing trip, but you'll send their breakfast and you'll send their lunch, and we will stop for dinner on the way up.
Sounds good. One more question. Would it be much more expensive to have two drivers maybe on both directions? I feel like this 8 hours driving time is maybe something like.
I mean, that's what it's regulated by
I
the
know it's
FDA.
regulated, but it's about how the and safety. So I think it would be very reasonable to have maybe two drivers, but maybe just me. But,
I mean, it's not been a problem in the past, and like Ms. Hudson and I sit up front, we're always awake, making sure our driver's awake.
Experienced drivers.
Yes.
But you know, there is fatigue, there could be some stoppage, there could be things like.
Okay, so if there is a problem, and I did this last year, if there's a problem with the driver, I will be on the phone with Candies and I will be requesting a new driver, and they will get me a new driver, because that happened last year.
Yes. Okay, but
100% on top of it.
And what problem happened last year? What was the problem?
The driver stopped 10 times on the way from Gainesville to North Carolina, or wherever we changed drivers, which slowed us down considerably.
Yeah, well,
Not because he was tired, he just kept stopping to go use the restroom or do whatever.
yes.
So,
So, you know, I'm just, as a physician who actually does exams for drivers, many times you experience people who are borderline to be, you know, ready to drive. This is my major concern. I think most of the parents' concern is to get safely there and come
as
back
is
again.
mine.
But I'm pretty confident that our kids are, you made them and us made them ready to be independent and doing well and enjoying this trip. But the travel is one of the concerns. I don't know how you all feel about it. I would feel more comfortable if you would have two drivers on these 8 hours stretching trip, because it can easily turn to 10. Driver can feel fatigued or some unexpected things can happen. I don't know if it's more, again, if it's something.
That's something I'd have to look into. You know, being a company that comes out of Gainesville, you know, they're running drivers up to different locations who stay in the hotel for the time that they're sitting there waiting for us. So our driver that's driving us out of Gainesville is sitting in a hotel for 4 or 5 days, whatever it is, until he picks us or she picks us back up. So it's not like they're doing stuff in the interim. So, I mean, they're well rested.
I understand how it increase significantly the price, but I think it would be reasonable to look into how much more that would be. I don't know what you think.
So, I mean, but in order to make that happen, you're saying two drivers would have, for each
And-
bus, if we ended up going to
Yes.
two
Right.
buses, it would
And
be
they would-
four
they would
drivers
have- they would
go,
have,
and then,
yes.
and we would have to pay for them to then sit in North Carolina for 4 days.
Right.
Until we come back and come back. So, I
Right.
mean, you could imagine that might,
The expense grows exponentially, yeah.
okay.
Right. I mean, we've done the bus for 4 years. I mean, Ms. Hudson, pipe in. I've never had a concern about drivers as far as, you know, I get the sense that when they assign us drivers, they're assigning us drivers to drive us through the night who normally drive through the night. You know, the woman that drove us back last year, I mean, that's pretty much her run, is she drives through the night. You know, just like a nurse who works a 12-hour shift, you know, 7 to 7 over the nighttime hours. So they get acclimated to that. But like I said, if there's a driver I'm not comfortable with, like last year, I have no problem picking up the phone and calling Candies, and they had no problem getting me a replacement driver.
And that replacement driver was on the way back.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So-
I mean, we're a big customer of theirs, so they want to do everything they can to keep us happy. They do a lot of middle school and high school trips. So, yeah.
On a couple of the ones that are outside of Vietnam, and all that, if the weather is bad, what are the other options?
So, okay, so here's the thing about the itinerary. That itinerary is fluid as far as when we're in DC. So while it may show that we're doing monuments and memorials during the day, if the weather is bad, we may do it at night. And sometimes we request to see some of the monuments at night because they're more spectacular at night when they're all lit up as opposed to during the day. Whereas vice versa for others. Like some of them aren't as good, like Vietnam's not good to see at night because you don't get the same effect of everything. So we constantly, and that's something that we really liked about Mary Beth, she's constantly talking to us going, okay guys, this is what we have left to do today. What order do you want to do it in? You know, do you prefer to do some things in the afternoon as opposed to the evening? So that's, you know, so we're always worrying about that. We, you know, with the weather, there's been times where the weather's bad, so we just go hang out in museums. And the nice thing about the Smithsonian's is they're free. So while there may not be a museum on our itinerary, if the weather turns bad and we can't be outside, we may go to American History Museum or whatever we weren't supposed to go to. So that's kind of nice about that area, because there is some flexibility. So, any other questions? Yes.
Are the children with the same chaperone the whole time if you're split up?
Yes. Yep. So they know who their go-to person is. Yep.
Do they have the hour and a half breaks at Congressman?
No, we're not doing that anymore. Yes, no.
I was
What was-
like,
what was
worried
the
about that.
One year we were supposed to
right.
see Ted Yoho,
Yoga.
and unfortunately his travel into DC was delayed, so we had to wait a while.
And apparently you can't sit.
Yeah, where we were waiting, you can't sit, and anyway, they finally let us sit. They let us sit. Anyway, but we don't do any. We told them in the future that you can come see us here at school. Just 'cause, it's kind of crazy. So anyway, all right. Anything else? So anytime you have questions, feel free to email us, and we will have another meeting. Probably late February, early March to discuss more details about packing and anything that's maybe changed in relation to trip, not like much wood, but any of that kind of stuff. And again, if you see an itinerary coming home in a Wednesday folder, it's most likely because more details have been added or something's been modified. And then, like I said, you will get a final itinerary before we travel, just so you know where we're going to be and what we're doing. Okay? Well, thanks for coming, everybody.